Well, hi everyone. I'm John Retlin with a retro review voted on by you all. This is ECW Barely Legal 1997. I put up two polls on Twitter. This and Backlash 2005 won each poll, so that review will be up in due course. So how's this pay-per-view aged? Some aspects of it have actually aged pretty goddamn well. It's a great six-man tag. Some parts of it have not aged all that well. All the headshots, some of the excessive blood and all that, but that was ECW in a nutshell. I was never the biggest ECW fan, and I readily admit that, have no problem admitting that, but there are some people that are, and that's great. If you guys love ECW, please let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think this pay-per-view still holds up? Because this was the first full clearance ECW pay-per-view. They had some internet, only shows back in, I want to say, 95, 96. But this was one where you hear the backstory on this. They really had to fight and claw to get it. And there were a lot of people that were going to be leaving soon after this. Raven, Stevie Richards, and Saturn was even going to be gone sometime after this. There was a lot of people. There were a lot of people that ended up leaving shortly after this. And a whole bunch of stuff where they were working with WWE, RVD, and all that. Because Vince McMahon saw value in plucking a bunch of ideas and people from ECW. Actually, they had already struck up that working relationship, but that's another story for another day. This pay-per-view overall has aged pretty goddamn well, even with the violence, the excessiveness, and everything, and all the, all the grit, all the stuff. It was all put in a blender, and Paul Heyman made it work. He made it work, and everybody did bring their A game, even if you don't like some of the talents. And there are some people on here that I don't particularly like or particularly cared for. Everybody brought their A game. I'm going to have some criticisms, though, so please, the comment box is there. So, Joey Styles calling the show by himself. Dreamer did join for the three-way dance and then the main event, but he didn't say a ton. He said some, basically, for storyline purposes, to help Terry Funk and also to push the whole Raven Terry Funk storyline, well, the match that was going to happen at the end. But other than that, Joey Styles, for better or worse, is a very memorable commentator. And actually, I think that's unfair. He was allowed to be himself and be wide open in ECW. And he called this entire pay-per-view by himself. And he was goddamn good at it. You wouldn't have even known he was the only person calling it because he kept up the energy throughout the entire thing. So we had the Dudleys out there with, Sign Guy and also Joel Gertner, who's an on-air persona I never cared for. I get what his persona was. I didn't care for it, but the crowd was chanting, fuck you, Devon. They did their typical promo. Here come the Eliminators, Saturn and Kronos. And it's an ECW Tag Team Championship match. And sure, any issues aside, this one did have some good, it had some good stuff to it. Also, ignore the fact if you happen to hear fireworks out there, because I kind of live out in the pseudo Wild Wild West, where we launch fireworks year round. So it had its moments. Maybe not the best tag team match that you will see. They would have more fluid ones like, ECW would before this and after this. But these were two pretty hot teams. Total elimination, 1, 2, 3. And then they also lay out Joel Gertner afterwards, which is always nice. We get a Sandman vignette, we get a Raven vignette later, and a Stevie Richards vignette to hype up the three-way dance. And then Chris Candido, his arm is in a sling, he can't compete. And I think he was supposed to face Lance Storm, if I recall correctly. So we had, they would actually, they would be partners a little bit later. But RVD was there, and RVD was kind of an alternate, and RVD wasn't very happy about that. Now, it was him versus Lance Storm in a pretty damn good match. Yes, there were some weak chair shots, because Lance Storm wasn't comfortable swinging a chair. Or at least, he didn't seem like he was comfortable swinging a chair. But this was a great athletic contest. RVD, I have my criticisms of him, and I stand by those, but as far as gifted athleticism, there were few that were he made it look effortless. He had springs in his goddamn legs. He could, leap across the ring. Especially in this day, or, at this time. And he still can, jump pretty goddamn far into his later 40s. But him, yes, again, weak chair shots aside, him and Lance Storm put on a great match here as far as athleticism. And, yeah, okay, the finish was a little bit weak because the 5-star Frog Splash was not a finisher yet. He would end up hitting the Van Terminator Van Daminator. His Van Daminator, Van Terminator was in the corner. Sorry. Moves jumbled in my head, and hit the hit a standing moonsault, 1, 2, 3, and then says Lance Storm, well, I did. Well, it's like, I don't need congratulations from you or whatever. It's like, I sold crowd's chain, you sold out. I sold out by putting my gear on tonight. RVD is no second line anything. I'm no alternate. And he does a pretty good promo here because he was negotiating with WWE and WCW because he wanted to get more pay, or at least so he says. Who knows? It could be Heyman working everybody. But RVD would end up working in WWE a little bit as part of the continuation of the ECW WWE, war and everything to help hype up ECW some more so Vince could pluck more ideas and talents from it. So that's kind of what Vince did. He was kind of good for plucking things from people because Vince McMahon hasn't really had wholly original thoughts in his head for a number of years. So, Great Sasuke, Gran Hamada, and Yakashichi. And if I'm going to mispronounce any of these names, I do apologize. As much as I love Japanese wrestling, sometimes I screw foreign names up. They took on Taka Michinoku. I mean, you want to see prime Taka Michinoku. I mean, he wasn't even in his prime. He was still only 23 here. He was just absolutely fantastic. Dick Togo and Terry Boy, Men's Teo, and he was really good. Everybody was really good in this. Even Great Sasuke, who was absolutely insane. This had... Yes, there were botches. There were. I'm not even going to dispute that. But that aside, it was the Japanese contingent of the BWO and Great Sasuke's team. And what was great is they threw streamers in the ring, much like they did in Japan. Gran Hamada has held more junior heavyweight titles than I could possibly mention in a 3-hour pay-per-view, says Joey Styles. It was very good with a great amount of near falls, great amount of false finishes, double arm suplex, pins Taka Michinoku 1, 2, 3. This is the one match you should go out and check because I feel this one is the one that ages the best out of all of them. So folks, I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back. Okay guys, after taking a quick break, I want to show you why I had to take a break. Give me a second. You heard that loud boom a few minutes ago. And yes, see, you, the producer, got scared. And by the way, folks, if you're unfamiliar with the channel, Adopt, Don't Shop, I got this very, very good kitty about 3 years ago. And he just looked so thrilled to be on camera. You were in the room for a little bit, and you know what you like? You were happy to see Sandman get his head caved in. That shows how much taste he has. So anyway... as I was saying, this was a great great 6-man match, and it was incredible to watch because it was great athleticism, a great amount of veterans mixed with young guys, so it was good shit. It was really good shit. And then we get to Shane Douglas with Francine versus Pitbull number 2 for the ECW TV Championship. Now, Shane Douglas was, just fit perfectly in ECW. This was based on the whole thing that he did with Gary Wolf, Pitbull number 1, where he had accidentally busted his neck. It broken his neck. Didn't mean to. It was a DDT spot, and he either took it wrong or something. Don't really know, because you get two conflicting stories. But Shane Douglas doesn't strike me as the type that would intentionally injure somebody. Even though I got my criticisms of him, he does not strike me as that. This was not... Okay, I'm just going to say this match wasn't very good. It was way too long on the pay-per-view. And Pitbull number 2, him and Gary Wolf are actually a great team, but... as good as they were trying to make this match, if they had shaved 7 minutes off of it, it probably would have been a whole lot better. Because there was also this overlying thing of like Riot people being with Shane because Rick Rude had been making overtures that he was going to get to Francine, he was going to get to Shane Douglas. And Rick Rude had been injured, retired from wrestling for like 3 years. He had not really made a ton of appearances. He had, any appearances he had made had been in a non-contact capacity because he had a Lloyd's of London insurance policy that if he got back in the ring, he'd have to pay it back. And it was like 350, 400 grand, something like that. It was a lot of money. But anyway, this match just wasn't that good. It just wasn't. And it wasn't for a lack of trying, but it didn't need to be this long. I mean, Pitbull number 2 is the best singles match that he probably had, especially on, worldwide pay-per-view. But it was just way too long, and it just wasn't all that good. It would end up, the Riot Squad, not, the Riot Squad that was in WWE, but the Riot guys would take away Gary Wolf because he was in the crowd and he tried to get at Shane. And then we get a guardrail spot that didn't work. They would get chairs. They would do this. And eventually belly-to-belly suplex 1, 2, 3. And then we get, a guy in a mask. The Masked Man. And oh no, he's got to unmask. And he kisses Francine. And he's in a Simply Ravishing robe. And oh, it's Rick Rude and he gets laid out. Oh no. Suddenly a guy shows up in the riot gear, and guess who it is? It's Rick Rude, and he hits him with the nightstick, and then he takes the mask off, and it's primetime Brian Lee, or, I forget what his name was here, but Brian Lee, who had bounced between Smoky Mountain Wrestling and WWE and ECW. He'd been in ECW, was part of that spot where he chokeslammed Tommy Dreamer through a whole bunch of tables. Well, him and Dreamer did the chokeslam spot where, it was like through a whole bunch of tables. It was like, I think that was how you had to win. It was like a weird scaffold, like very unsafe scaffold. Very unsafe. I don't know why they ever did that. But, Heyman was wild out and crazy. Sometimes for the betterment and sometimes to the detriment of the company. And I stand by that. But Candido had also interfered, and we'd done a whole bunch of stuff. Oh no, but they did all the stuff with Rick Rude, and he would do commentary with Joey Styles, and he would do some stuff, and then he would be back in WWE for a little bit as part of the original DX, and then he would go to WCW after the Montreal Screwjob. But this was decently built. It's just, it didn't work. It didn't work because I don't think anybody was going to buy Pitbull number 2 winning, no matter how hard they tried. We then get Taz talking about Sabu. We get Bill Alfonso, who I've never cared for. At least on the mic, he sounds like he's smoked like 80 packs of Marlboro a day for like 10 years. And I mean, maybe he had health issues. I apologize if he had any health issue, but just he did not have the voice for talking. He did not. He just did not at all. So we get Sabu versus Taz, grudge match of the century. And you know what? For all the hype that they did with this, because you had Sabu with his neck busted, and that was in a match with Chris Benoit. You had Taz also with his neck busted, and he came back as the human suplex machine, the sawed-off monster, who was like, Ultimate Fighter, all that. They had a good build here. They had a really good build. There are some people that say that this match did not match, or this did not match the hype. Well, they hyped it up so goddamn much. If you see the vignettes and, syndication and all that stuff, and the way Heyman did it, there's no way they could have followed this up. There's no way they could have done it. There's no way they could have followed all that hype. And that's not to say they didn't try. They had some good wrestling, some good strikes, as you would expect with these guys. I'm not even a fan of Sabu. I'm not even the biggest Taz fan, but Taz in ECW was presented well. Sabu, there's a few other reasons, mainly personal reasons, as far as stuff that how he feels about certain sections of the population and all the bullshit they did to his body when he didn't need to, and the fact that he's not a good guy. He's just not. But to that audience, he certainly spoke volumes. And in the 90s, he was pretty goddamn good. Now, he wasn't great, but he was pretty goddamn good. He would also botch quite a bit. He botched with the chair because he would always do that. He would do it on a live pay-per-view. Oh, I didn't quite get on the ropes. And I don't want him to hurt himself because he could do that fine on his own because he's a clueless klutz. But he also would, he did that and then dived through the table. Where there was a whole bunch of stuff that they were doing. But eventually Taz gets the victory. He gets the Taz mission on. And he says, hey, Sabu, you took me to my limit. I want to shake your hand. Da-da-da-da-da. Bill Alfonso is like, what the hell is this? RVD suddenly attacks. And then, he's standing there and facing Sabu because they've been, enemies, tag partners, and stuff like that. And then Sabu suddenly clocks Taz. They're beating him up. Bill Alfonso, who was in Taz's corner, sees, Taz get laid out on a table because Sabu does it. And Bill Alfonso's going to get in the ring. He's got a Taz shirt on. He's going to do this. And then he takes off. Oh, it's a Sabu shirt. Oh, it's a swerve. It was, we knew Alfonso was going to do that. Even anybody that was just a recent fan would have known that was going to happen. But you know what? RVD talks and does a good promo and everything. As Bill Alfonso says, first, Taz, you cost me a lot of money, all this. And RVD says, well, I'm a pay-per-view superstar and stuff like this. Hey, other promotions, if you want to talk to me, get a hold of my man Fonzie. He has my phone number, and I love to work Mondays. Now, that's a great way to get it. That's a great way to get some heat there. And he would then again work Raw tapings, and he would also, I don't know if he worked pay-per-view or not, but he did work in ECW until it closed down, and was the greatest ECW TV champion there ever was. Sandman versus Terry Funk versus Stevie Richards, three-way dance, and Dreamer joins commentary. Beulah also joins, and my God, Beulah was fucking lovely, and you know what, Beulah's still lovely, by the way. Easily the best-looking woman in ECW history. I mean, I know it's not a high bar, but I'm just saying. Anyway, this match, three-way dance, one man gets eliminated, two men go at it, and then the last man standing gets to face Raven. This was a mess. It was a fun mess. This is one where I'm sorry, Sandman sucks. He fucking sucks. He's fucking rotten in the ring. He was definitely over with the ECW fans, and he connected with them, but he was a klutz. I talk about Sabu being a klutz. At least Sabu kind of looked like an athlete. Sandman was a fucking klutz that couldn't do anything. I mean, he was like, he was, falling, doing leg drops. He was almost injuring people, taking a ladder out to the ring, taking a ladder out into the crowd, and then doing another ladder spot and everything. And yeah, the ECW fans knew what the fuck they were getting into, but Sandman, just whatever. There was, trash cans, ladders. There was one point Sandman goes back, gets a ladder, tosses it, and it hits Funk in the head. They do the same spot a little bit later where he has a trash can wrapped in, sheet metal and tosses it, and it makes a really cool sound on Terry Funk's head and probably hurt like a goddamn bitch, as tough as Terry Funk is. There was a moonsault off the ladder. There was a stupid ladder spot for absolutely no goddamn reason. But you know what? Hey, it was ECW and it was all crazy. The amount of shit that they did, it was unbelievable. Now, when Stevie Richards got eliminated, because it looked like he might actually get to the final two, when he got eliminated and both Funk and Sandman pinned him, the crowd booed. They wanted Stevie Richards to get that because they felt, okay, Stevie Richards and Raven, we could build to this. I knew it. Looking back on it, you can see what they were definitely trying to do, especially with Dreamer joining, him being aligned with Terry Funk, his mentor and everything. He was obviously going to be Terry Funk, but it's just the way they did it. That's about my only quibble, but it still worked really, really well. And then we get another trash can. We get barbed wire, and barbed wire sticking in the Sandman's skin. Ouch! We get sticking in the Funk's skin. Stevie helps Funk after a trash can's put over Sandman's head, and then Moonsault pins Sandman 1, 2, 3. Now, they're running really low on time. I encourage you guys to check out the Forever Hardcore documentary, where Raven talks about, how they were running low on time, and they had to do their stuff, and it actually worked pretty well. But with this, we had Raven versus Terry Funk, and Terry gets busted open quickly. We get a table spot, and we get Raven's Nest. It was Raven's Flock and ECW or WCW. That is, but not the same people. It was the same concept taken over there. And yet, somebody Reggie something or other that did this horrible freaking sit-out powerbomb. I mean, I don't know what the deal was, but they couldn't do anything at all. But then Raven, berates Dreamer, says, "I'm going to put him through 3 tables. I'm going to end his career, come back in his career. And it's going to be right at your feet." And then Dreamer's getting upset, takes a chain down at the balcony. He's about to get him. Big Dick Dudley suddenly shows up. Big man in loud tie-dye. How the hell did you not know that he was there? And what happened is he tries to choke slam him. Oh no, low blow, and Dreamer choke slams him. I say that because Big Dick Dudley basically had to step back and almost fall on the goddamn concrete. Thankfully, he hit the tables because that could have been really bad. But then Dreamer comes out and he takes out Raven's Nest of somewhere off screen and then gets a trash can. As he's coming over the guardrail, Raven throws a trash can and Dreamer has to no-sell it because it hits him right in the goddamn head. And then Dreamer comes in, the referee's down, hits DDT on Raven. They do a botched 3-count thing where it looked like Terry Funk was supposed to get the victory. But it's like 1, 2, and, Raven, I believe, was supposed to kick out or did kick out, and they still rang the bell. But then inside cradle, 1, 2, 3, Terry Funk wins as they go to black, because literally I think they blew the power supply there. That's what the deal was. So overall, the show does age pretty well, except for the blood and the headshots. But you know what? Again, that was what ECW basically was. And for their first pay-per-view, for their first full clearance pay-per-view, they knocked it out of the goddamn park. So in closing, guys, give me 1 second. I know you didn't necessarily like Terry Funk winning, but I think that Terry Funk winning was a pretty good thing. Is it because he's old? Is it that it? Oh, it's because you want to do a moonsault and you can't because you're scared of heights. So anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this retro review of ECW Barely Legal 1997. You're going to wave goodbye, sir. What do you see? Do you see he's going to go hunt? He's going to bring me back, presents like he always does. Anyway, folks, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. That was Sir, and I will see you soon.